I shall remember for once to deliver or to end the tension that I deliberately and cynically created just before the news there. It is almost unbelievable. In fact, do you know what? If it hadn't been Jim Waterson, the media editor of The Guardian, that tweeted this yesterday, I wouldn't have believed it. Because I'm not plugged into this world. I never really was, but certainly I'm not plugged into it in any way like I used to be. So Jim Waterson, who is brilliant at what he does, absolutely superb media correspondent, he revealed yesterday on Twitter that, according to the schedule, a chap called Edward Fawkes, who you've probably never heard of, he is the main press regulator in this country, although it's a press regulator set up effectively to avoid more robust scrutiny of the media. He was supposed to be having dinner last night at Rupert Murdoch's Mayfair flat. Rupert Murdoch's Mayfair flat. He cancelled his plans after The Guardian asked why he had booked a dinner date with the billionaire media mogul. So the editor of The Sun can go on the BBC, which is traditionally one of the few places where the British public can expect to have their interests represented by journalists, and not be asked a single question about this. Utterly disgusting. Utterly disgusting journalism. And the bloke who may end up investigating it, although at the moment it's unclear which of Ipso's rules it may have breached, was due to have dinner with the owner. So the editor can go on BBC One's flagship political programme and get her tummy tickled, and the actual owner can call the head of the so-called regulator round for dinner at his Mayfair flat. Yeah, it was all perfectly normal. All perfectly normal. And I can tell you that the number of complaints submitted about this column has just broken all records. It's just become the most complained about column ever, with 17,500 complaints. And I can also tell you that dozens of MPs have now demanded that The Sun... So you've got Conservative MPs now doing what the BBC should have done on Sunday morning and demanding that The Sun actually account for its actions or indeed take immediate action against Jeremy Clarkson. 65 MPs, led by the Tory chairman of the Women and Equality Select Committee, have written an open letter to Victoria Newton, the editor of The Sun, calling for definitive action. Andrea Leadsom has signed it. Harriet Harman has signed it. And they write, "We are horrified at the recent article by Jeremy Clarkson in your publication. As parliamentarians of every persuasion, we condemn in the strongest terms the violent, misogynistic language against the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle."
Welcome to Royal Telly, your number one source for all things royal. I'm your host, Chloe, and today we're diving into a story that's been making waves across the British press. Now, this tale begins with an infamous column penned by Jeremy Clarkson. It was about Meghan Markle, and it was so appalling that it sparked over 17,500 complaints. This wasn't just a blip on the radar, folks. This column became the most complained about piece in the history of the British press. Let that sink in for a moment. Clarkson's column was a spiteful, misogynistic tirade. It was so bad that it prompted the main press regulator, the Independent Press Standards Organization, IPSO for short, to launch an investigation. Their role is simple: to keep the media in check, to ensure that the press is held accountable for their actions. Now, here's where things take an interesting turn. At the very moment when thousands of people were crying out for justice, the head of IPSO, a gentleman by the name of Edward Fawkes, had a dinner date planned, a cozy little rendezvous, if you will. And his dinner companion? None other than Rupert Murdoch, the owner of the very newspaper that published the controversial column. Picture that, if you will. The very person tasked with investigating press misconduct breaking bread with the man whose publication is under fire. This isn't just a conflict of interest, folks. It's a complete mockery of the entire system. It shows us that the watchdogs of the industry are not policing, but rather they're dining with the very people they're supposed to be holding accountable. This revelation is a bitter pill to swallow. It exposes a system of oversight as a sham. It's designed to protect the powerful, not the public. And this, dear listeners, is why Meghan and Harry took the drastic action that they did. This is why the British public has little faith in the press. And just when you thought things couldn't get any more intriguing, here comes the plot twist. Let's delve deeper into the scandal, shall we? The Guardian's media editor, Jim Watterson, dropped a bombshell revelation that shook the media landscape. In the midst of public outrage and thousands of complaints flooding in, Edward Fawkes, the head of the Independent Press Standards Organization, or IPSO, had a dinner date in his calendar. Now, this wouldn't be a problem if it were a casual meal with friends or family, but it wasn't. Edward was set to share a table with none other than Rupert Murdoch, the very same Rupert Murdoch who owns the newspaper that published the infamous Jeremy Clarkson column. Can you imagine? As the cries for accountability and action were growing louder by the day, the man responsible for upholding press standards was preparing to wine and dine with the owner of the very newspaper that had so blatantly disregarded those standards. This was no ordinary dinner. This was a meeting that unveiled a cozy relationship between those who are supposed to regulate the media and those who run it. Murdoch's flat in Mayfair was set to become the stage for a dinner that was less about food and more about power, influence, and a complete disregard for ethics. This revelation turned the entire concept of press regulation on its head. It showed us that the watchdog wasn't watching, but rather enjoying a meal with the very people it was supposed to be keeping an eye on. The implications of this cozy relationship are far-reaching. It's a slap in the face to the public who trust the press to be held to account. It's a mockery of the concept of media regulation, when the people who are supposed to be holding the press accountable are instead breaking bread with its most influential figures. It's clear that the system is not just flawed, but broken. This isn't just a conflict of interest, it's a mockery of the entire system. It's a tale that reveals the rot at the heart of the British press and the urgent need for reform. The sad truth is, this cozy dinner date between Fawkes and Murdoch is not an anomaly, but a symptom of a much larger problem. A problem that continues to undermine public faith in the media and its supposed watchdogs. It's not just a conflict of interest, it's a mockery of the entire system. This tale isn't just about a cozy dinner, it's about the closed-door club running the British press. It's a club where the watchdogs and the wolves dine together, a place where the lines between the regulator and the regulated blur into non-existence. This cozy relationship isn't just an amusing anecdote, it's a corrosive force that eats away at the public's trust in the media. When the very individuals tasked with holding the press accountable are seen sharing laughter and clinking glasses with the media moguls they're supposed to regulate, it's no wonder the public feels betrayed. It's no wonder that faith in the press is dwindling. This closed-door club isn't just compromising the integrity of the press. It's also fostering an environment where inflammatory, misogynistic content can thrive. When there are no real consequences for such behavior, when the so-called watchdogs are more interested in maintaining their social standing than in upholding the standards of their profession, is it any surprise that we end up with columns like Jeremy Clarkson's? This kind of unchecked power and lack of accountability emboldens the worst elements in the media. It gives them a license to be as inflammatory, as misogynistic, and as hateful as they want, all in the name of chasing clicks. The public is left to bear the brunt of this unchecked power. It is the public who must endure the inflammatory headlines, the misogynistic tirades, and the outright lies that are often peddled by the press. It is the public who must sift through the muck and the mire to find the truth. This is a club where the powerful protect their own, where the interests of the few are prioritized over the needs of the many. This is a club that operates behind closed doors, away from the prying eyes of the public. This is a club that undermines the very foundations of a free and fair press. So when the watchdogs become dinner guests, there's no incentive for restraint. There's no incentive to uphold the standards of the profession. There's no incentive to serve the public interest. In the end, it's not just the press that suffers, it's all of us. Amidst all this, there's one glimmer of hope: the power of independent journalism. Consider for a moment the landscape of this story without the presence of independent journalism. We might never have known about the cozy dinner planned between the head of the press regulator and the media mogul facing his wrath. The dinner might have gone ahead, and the Clarkson column might have been swept under the rug like so many other scandals before it. But thanks to the tenacity of journalists like Jim Watterson, the public was given a window into the world of media politics. It's a world that often goes unseen, hidden behind the glossy pages of the daily news. Yet, it's a world that shapes the narratives we consume, the biases we hold, and the trust we place in our institutions. When journalists hold power to account, they do more than just report the news. They offer us a chance to question, to challenge, and to demand better. They shine a light on the dark corners of society and force us to confront uncomfortable truths. The dinner between Edward Fawkes and Rupert Murdoch was only canceled after a journalist started asking questions. This is not just an indication of the power of journalism, but a testament to its necessity. It underscores the importance of a truly independent press, free from the influence of power brokers and money men. Independent journalism is not just about reporting the facts. It's about digging deeper, asking the tough questions, and refusing to be silenced. It's about challenging the status quo and demanding accountability. In a world where the lines between news and entertainment are increasingly blurred, where sensationalism often trumps substance, the role of independent journalism is more critical than ever. It's a beacon of truth in a sea of misinformation, a watchdog in a world of unchecked power. It's a stark reminder of the essential role of a truly independent press in holding power to account. As we wrap up this shocking exposé, let's reflect on what this means for the Sussexes and for all of us. It's an alarming revelation that underscores the urgent need for genuine media accountability and reform. This isn't just about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. It's about the integrity of our news sources and the extent to which we can trust them. The Sussexes have been the subjects of relentless media scrutiny, often crossing the line into outright harassment. This scandal brings to light the extent of the bias and the lack of accountability within the press. It's no wonder then that Meghan and Harry decided to step back from royal duties and seek a life away from the relentless media glare. The implications of this scandal go beyond the royal family. It's a wake-up call for all of us. It's a reminder that the press, which is supposed to serve as the fourth estate, holding power to account, can sometimes itself become a wielder of unchecked power. The need for a truly independent press has never been more urgent. A press that is free from the influence of powerful individuals and institutions. A press that is committed to fairness, accuracy, and decency. A press that is not afraid to ask tough questions, even if it means upsetting the powers that be. In the end, it's up to us, the public, to demand transparency and accountability from our news sources. We need to support independent journalism, to question the narratives presented to us, to critically evaluate the information we consume. This scandal is a stark reminder of the power of the press and the importance of holding that power to account. Because without accountability, without transparency, there can be no trust. And without trust, a free and fair press cannot exist. Thank you for joining us at Royal Telly. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on all things royal. I'm Chloe, and I'll see you next time.